You know, they say history is written by those with the strongest shields and the sharpest swords. For decades, India's story was that of the world's biggest buyer, a nation that depended on factories in Moscow, Paris, and Washington. But that whole narrative, it's being torn up and completely rewritten as we speak. We are witnessing the birth of a new military doctrine, laid out in the Defense Forces Vision 2047. This isn't just a document, it's a declaration of strategic autonomy that is designed to reshape the entire global balance of power. Let's really break down what that means.
But here's the thing that kicks this whole story off, the central paradox. How can a nation with such a massive vision, aiming to be a global military powerhouse, still be the world's second largest arms importer? I mean, that seems like a total contradiction, right? Well, the truth is, as you're about to see, far more complex and, frankly, way more interesting than the headlines would ever have you believe.
And you are absolutely gonna want to stick with me on this. Stay to the end, because I'm going to reveal some pretty shocking things about a recent conflict that completely redefines India's military capability. Okay, let's get back to it.
All right, to get what's really going on here, we have to peel back the layers and look right past those headlines. The big SIPRI report tells one story, sure, but the numbers themselves, well, they reveal a much deeper, much more strategic shift happening behind the scenes.
So here it is, in black and white. The latest data confirms it. India accounts for 8.2% of all global arms imports. That makes it the second largest importer on the entire planet. Now, on the surface, that looks like business as usual, right? A nation still leaning heavily on foreign hardware. But this, my friends, is where the story begins, not where it ends.
So let's just rewind the clock for a second. Between 2011 and 2015, Russia was the undisputed king of Indian defense. I mean, just look at this, a staggering 70%. 70% of all of India's military hardware came from Moscow. That wasn't just a partnership, it was a deep, decades-long dependency.
Okay, now fast forward to today and boom, look at that dramatic shift. Russia's share has absolutely plummeted to just 40%. And this isn't just about swapping suppliers. No, this is a profound geopolitical pivot. By turning to France, Israel, and the US, India is doing three things at once: getting its hands on cutting-edge tech, building interoperability with Western powers, and forging new alliances to counter threats. This is what we call the westward pivot in real time.
But wait, this shift in who India buys from, that's only half the story. While India is diversifying its shopping list, it's also turbocharging its own production lines. We're talking a domestic defense output that hit a staggering 1.51 lakh crore. That's over $18 billion in the last fiscal year alone. That's an 18% jump in just 1 year. That's not just a number. That is the sound of Atmanirbhar, or self-reliance, becoming a powerful reality.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because this builds right into the next phase of the strategy. While the world's been so focused on what India buys, the real story, the much more revealing story, is about what India now sells. And this is where we see a new, much more assertive India stepping onto the world stage.
And this deal, this just says it all. Indonesia has finalized a deal for the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. Now, this isn't just any weapon. This thing flies at Mach 3, making it nearly impossible to intercept. So for about $340 million, Indonesia isn't just buying a missile, it's buying deterrence. It's buying a powerful message aimed squarely at Beijing's ambitions in the South China Sea.
This entire strategy actually has a name: clapback diplomacy, and it's as simple as it is effective. See, just as China has armed India's rivals to create pressure, India is now returning the favor, arming nations in Southeast Asia to balance out China's influence in its own backyard. It is a classic geopolitical chess move, and India is now one of the major players on the board.
Okay, now we get to the most critical piece of this entire puzzle, the development I promised you. The one that proves India's self-reliance isn't just some far-off goal, but a combat-proven reality. We're about to look at a recent conflict where a new, homegrown technology completely changed the game.
The date was May 7, 2025. The mission, Operation Sindoor. You had over 110 aircraft in the sky, the biggest air engagement in the region in over 50 years. But right in the middle of all that chaos, India deployed something brand new. A newly integrated AI system was put to the ultimate test, and despite enemy claims of impenetrable defenses, the intended targets were hit with absolute surgical precision.
And this wasn't just some battlefield rumor. India's defense minister, Rajnath Singh, went right on the record, stating that these indigenous homegrown systems were, and I quote, "the backbone of our success."
This was a public validation of a highly classified technological leap forward. So how does this AI skywall actually work? Well, it's a three-step process. First, you saturate the battlefield. Swarm drones create hundreds of fake, phantom targets, completely overwhelming and confusing enemy radar. Second, as the real threats emerge, AI algorithms don't just track them, they predict their attack paths in real time. And third, and this is the game changer, the system automates the response, launching counterfire without any human delay, cutting reaction time from minutes all the way down to milliseconds. This is the future of warfare, and it was just proven in real combat.
So, a revolutionary weapon is one thing, but a true military power needs more than that. It needs a deep, resilient ecosystem to build, to maintain, and to constantly innovate. So let's look at the foundational work that's happening behind the scenes, the stuff that makes all of this even possible.
This is just a perfect example. The C-130J transport plane is the workhorse of India's Air Force. Before, if you needed heavy maintenance, you had to send these planes overseas for months at a time. Now, thanks to a new maintenance hub in Bangalore built by Tata and Ramco, that same job is done in a matter of weeks, right here in India. That is a massive strategic and logistical game changer.
And we all know the battle isn't just physical anymore. A new security manual released in 2026 is focused squarely on the invisible battlefield. It enforces stricter data sovereignty, making sure sensitive data stays inside India. It implements zero-trust cyber defenses. And maybe most importantly, it establishes protocols for fighting the information wars that go hand in hand with every modern conflict.
So after looking at the data, the exports, that breakthrough tech, and the growing industrial base, what's the final verdict here? What is the reality of India's path to 2047?
The answer brings us right back to that paradox we started with. India is in a state of what you could call aggressive transition. The imports that we still see, they're a strategic bridge. They're buying the high-end tech needed to manage immediate threats on its borders today. But they are just a temporary measure while the permanent, homegrown military-industrial complex is built for tomorrow.
Ultimately, the message is this. From the BrahMos steel shaking things up in Jakarta to the AI-driven victories of Operation Sindoor, the signal being sent to the world is simple and crystal clear. The era of dependency is ending. The era of India as a global military power is just beginning.
But of course, the road ahead is not going to be easy. There will be bumps. So I'll leave you with this question. What do you think is the single biggest challenge standing in the way of India's 2047 vision? Is it technology, geopolitical pressure, or is it something else entirely? Let me know what you think down in the comments.
And of course, for more deep dives into geopolitics and the future of defense, make sure you subscribe for all the latest updates. Thanks so much for joining me.